guys, we're here today with r/am I the a-hole. This is Sit Down and Reddit, so let's dive into it. Am I the a-hole for refusing to make a wedding dress for my niece? I, 30s female, am a regular old boring mom with a regular old boring job, think like HR lead, accountant, blah, blah, blah. But for several years in my 20s, I worked as a seamstress for some very, very major costume shops, think Broadway. I gave all that up for better pay and normal, non-crazy working hours, but I still make clothes and costumes for special occasions, like Halloween. I made my niece's A20's wedding dress a few years ago as she got married during the pandemic and couldn't safely go to a bridal salon. She looks stunning. And it came out beautifully. I'm not just saying this as her aunt. She could be a model. I was able to call in favors and get luxury materials for very, very cheap, so the dress was quite reasonable. A sister, B, recently got engaged to a great guy. We are all very excited for him. He called me today to ask about her dress, when she should come over for a fitting, how to reimburse me, etc. I love B, but I can't make her dress. B has been in treatment for an eating disorder for the past several years and has had some extreme weight fluctuations. The nature of my work is that I need to openly and bluntly discuss my clients' body changes, including weight, with them. Otherwise, the garment won't fit correctly or be comfortable. I just don't feel comfortable having those conversations with B while supporting her in recovery. My husband is in support of me, but my sister, C, 40s, called me an a-hole. Okay, so I definitely feel this is a bit of a tricky one. I feel rather mixed about this situation, as with the niece, it does seem to be a rather delicate matter in regards to her eating disorder. However, with being the aunt, I would have assumed that they'd be more likely to want to step in and be the one to support the niece. I do understand COVID was rough times, yet allowed the aunt to get the materials cheaper for niece. But I feel like that isn't the true issue the aunt has. I don't know. I do feel that aunt is slightly the a-hole, in my opinion, especially since the niece isn't expecting this dress for free. On top of the fact the aunt is already aware of her situation and would be able to support her niece through the dress fittings on one of her biggest days of her life instead of some stranger. The aunt should definitely sit down and talk with her niece, and I'm sure they would be able to come up with a solution, delicate topic or not. Well, that's my opinion. But what do you guys think? Here's a few of the comments from the post. I think you should talk to B's mother for her sister if they're closer to ask if they think she can handle this line of questioning, or if they, A, or mother may know the answers well enough to inform you of them. If you're willing, you could probably also find some resources online or something to help to find better ways to discuss and or handle this situation. Ignore these thoughts if it really is too daunting to take these extra steps. But in the event you do really want to do this too for her, while also being conscientious of how to not poke any eating disorder body image triggers, perhaps you can find a way. Don't say any of that to the niece or her mom. It's only going to make things worse. Just say you don't have the bandwidth to make a dress for her. You work in corporate. Buzzword them to death. Okay, let's move on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for reporting my daughter to her school? As my husband, 38 male, and I, 38 female, have 3 kids. Our daughter Kira Stiana, 13 female, and Liam, 8 male, and Sarah, 2 female. Christiana has a boyfriend, Colden, a 13 male. Colden is a good kid. He plays baseball, is an A student, and is a sweet boy. I also know that him and his friends call each other out when they do something bad. He's told me stories about how him and his friends called out one of their friends for saying something transphobic. They do this by roasting each other sometimes, but it encourages good behavior. Holden sometimes goes to my husband and I for advice. A few months ago, he came to us after his friends roasted him for a racially insensitive comment he made. You could tell he was remorseful. We live in a very privileged area, and it can be hard to see biases. The boys Colden plays baseball with have shaped him into a phenomenal young man. Yesterday night, Colden and Christiana were in her room together. My husband and I were on the porch watching Liam and Sarah play in the yard. Suddenly, we are interrupted by Colden storming out of the house, and he was walking angrily. We tried to stop him since he didn't have a coat and was wearing shorts. We told him to come inside and asked what was wrong. He kept walking for a bit before turning back, walked in our house shivering, and asked for some hot cocoa. He told us that there was this boy in their grade who Colden found out that Christiana was bullying. He said the boy was a feminine straight guy. He has short hair and doesn't dress feminine. But he's a Swiftie, is openly emotional, and he listed a few other things about him. He said our daughter was calling this boy gay and telling his girlfriend that he's probably cheating on her with a boy. He said he doesn't know the boy well, but it bugged him that she was doing this. Colden said he didn't want to report our daughter, though, as he didn't want to ruin his relationship with her. He suggested to him that he considered reporting it, but he said he didn't feel comfortable doing so once he had calmed down. We let him watch TV in the living room while we talked to our daughter. She was unapologetic. She said that she was just stating how she felt and that we couldn't punish her for that. We told her that she was grounded and took her devices away. We liked her cooling down a bit ourselves. My husband and I discussed our plans, and we decided to email the principals and admin at her school. The school is currently investigating this further, but has already found evidence that her and her entire friend group was bullying this boy after just a day of looking, and she's facing serious consequences. Our daughter said we were being snitches and said that we are ruining her social life. Am I the a-hole? All right, I can confidently say no. I don't think Opie here is the a-hole. The daughter was outright disrespectful and bullying another person. Christiana had no regrets for her actions, holding no remorse or guilt, which in itself is disgusting. Opie did some great parenting. And this right here is what I call consequences for your actions. The one, people have the right to feel whatever they want and say whatever they want. That doesn't mean they have the right to say it without consequences. 2, she called you snitches. She knows she fudged up. You're not a snitch for telling someone something that's not problematic. Haven't they talked to her about why she is acting like this? Is this new behavior? It's not unheard of for teens raised in an open-minded, proper environment to be bullies, but it does seem odd that a teen who is surrounded at home and socially by open-minded people that promote tolerance and respect would suddenly act like this. Teens want to fit in with their peers. They usually follow the herd. Her peers don't sound like they tolerate this nonsense, which is why it seems odd she would act in a way that would guarantee she'd be ostracized. It might help to ask her about it as figuring out if she's on some bad sites. There is some new group she's trying to impress, stressed and lashing out, or is simply an a-hole would help Opie figure out how to nip this dung in the bud. You're not the a-hole. This is called parenting. You are ensuring that your daughter and her friend group face consequences for harming another human being. Her opinion that this is snitching is an attempt to apply immature morals to adult behavior, which I personally completely agree with. But what do you guys think to this? Is OP the a-hole? On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for forcing a sale of my late husband and his girlfriend's home? This has caused a lot of mixed reactions, and I want unbiased opinions. Neither me nor my late husband and his girlfriend have any children. I, 35 female, got separated from my husband, 37 male, over 10 years ago. Unfortunately, he has left me with a lot of debt to pay and in a position where I was nearly homeless. I have only stopped paying the debt off 2 years ago, but there is still a lot of work to improve my credit history. Because of all the stress he caused me, we never got divorced or formally separated. A matter of fact is we never spoke after I was kicked out from the flat, so his girlfriend Anna can move in. I was planning to file for divorce once I have enough spare income, but some events took place before I was able to do so. Right now to where I can be an a-hole. 2 months ago, my husband passed away in a freak accident. He left no will behind and has a house which is paid off with his girlfriend. He ended up having a big promotion at work. I have spoken to the lawyer, and because we never divorced or filed for separation, I'm entitled to half of the house as his next of kin. Last week, I have informed Anna through a letter that I want the house to be sold. She can either buy my half or I will have to force a sale. It is up to her. I do not want to live in the house, but the money from the sale could really help out to sort out the damage done by the loans I had to pay for the ex as well as a deposit for my own place. So I don't have to live in absolute mess holes due to poor credit and not a very high-paying job. It will also help me to work on my qualifications so I can get a better job in retirement. However, Anna and my ex-family have called me a masshole, saying I have no right to the house legally I do and that I am being cruel and vindictive. I've reminded them that it is not my fault their son haven't divorced me or had a will and said I don't see how it is unfair as I had to pay for his debts while he lived a comfy life. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? I can see why OP would be deemed the a-hole here. Though I do not feel OP is, as they were never divorced for whatever reason, which left her with his debt. From the sounds of it as well, the girlfriend Anna did nothing to help pay for these debts despite being in relationship with the ex-husband. The house is paid off, and they would both, Anna and OP, be entitled to what the house is sold for, which should be more than enough from what it sounds like for the pair of them to get another place, a decent place to live. I don't personally see this as cruel, but an opening for OP to finally have a way of comfortable living. I do understand that Anna, the girlfriend, may have memories there and not want to leave, which is where I do feel OP should probably talk to her. Though from this story alone, I do not know what their relationship was like, so don't feel like I could really comment about that further. The ex-husband, on the other hand, sure does appear to be the a-hole here from the story. I was uncertain to begin with from the story alone due to not enough context, but we will get a bit more information from the comments. Now let's dive into a few of the comments. Info. What debt did he have that you had to repay? How was it never cheaper to get a divorce and force the sale of the house than it was to pay off his debt? He got a big raise, and you all had linked credit. How is his credit better than yours? Are you on the deed? As we actually have a reply from OP here with a little more context. The house is the house he bought with his girlfriend on a joint mortgage. Yet, he has maxed out my credit cards, took a loan under my name, and emptied the joint account while transferring himself the money from them, labeling them as gift or bill money in the reference. I tried reporting it as fraud, but he turned it around as if I did it voluntarily to prevent him from leaving. Trust me, the marriage was not healthy for me. There are a lot of details that I'm not comfortable mentioning here, and it could have ended worse. Absolutely not the a-hole. Your husband left you with debt. It took you 8 years to pay off. You've lived in poor accommodation. You worked low-paying jobs. Since then, you've been left with having to repair your credit. Anna knew she was living with a married man. She took the benefits of that. While you lived a tough life from the consequences, get that security, your own place, those qualifications. I hope you find peace and happiness along the way. Just let Anna's family pick up her tab. She had no conscience or remorse knowing the situation your ex left you in, and now nor should you. Force the sale and take what's your due OP. Let's move on to the next story. Am I the a-hole for canceling the babysitter after my wife decided not to attend my work holiday party? My 38 male work held our annual holiday party last Friday. It was held at one of those axe-throwing places, which I had never done before, so I figured it would be pretty fun. My wife, 36 female, and I have 3 kids, 10, 8, and 5. So we don't get out of the house for dates very often. The holiday party was planned almost 2 months ago, and my wife agreed to attend with me. I suggested we make it more of a date by either going out for drinks after the party or catching a late-night movie. She thought this was a good idea, too. I also arranged for a babysitter to come watch the kids for that night. Me the day of the party. My wife got home from work and told me that she had a horrible day and was in a bad space mentally, so she didn't want to come to the party. I told her I was disappointed, but I understand if she wants to stay home. As I was getting myself ready to head to the party, I called the babysitter and canceled. I apologized to her and offered to Venmo her an hour's worth of our agreed rate $30 to compensate for the cancellation, and she agreed that was reasonable. As I was getting ready to leave, my wife asked when the babysitter was going to come. I kind of looked at her funny and told her I had just canceled the babysitter because she was no longer coming with me. She got mad at me and told me that I knew she had a bad day and was in a bad mental state and needed some time to herself. I told her that I had assumed none of that meant she was incapable of watching our kids and that I didn't think having the babysitter come when my wife was still home made any sense at all. She told me to call her back and see if she could still come watch the kids, and I told her that if she wanted to do that, she can do it, but I'm not going to. She tried to argue with me about it, but I told her that I had to leave for the party, about time plates. While I was at the party, she sent me multiple texts about how the kids were driving her nuts and that the babysitter didn't answer her calls and she needed me to come home. She kept blowing up my phone, and I eventually left the party over an hour early to go home. When I got there, she kept arguing with me about how I was an a-hole for canceling the babysitter when I knew she had a rough day. I told her I was not going to pay a babysitter just so that my wife can rest after a bad day. I told her she could have just thrown a movie on for the kids and relaxed. I told her she was the one who ruined our potential night out and that having a bad day at work is not a good enough reason to pay a babysitter $150 to $200. She still thinks I was an a-hole for canceling the babysitter without talking to her first, and she's still mad at me for it. But I don't think that was an unreasonable assumption to make, considering that there have been plenty of times when I've had a bad day and I am still 100% capable of watching the kids by myself while my wife leaves the house. I don't feel like it was unreasonable for OP to cancel the babysitter. However, I do think that OP should have definitely spoken to his wife before making any calls. I am curious as to why the wife would still need the babysitter if she was going to be home. Like, did she truly need a break? Did she want to go out on her own to relax? Which, to me personally, if it was the second one, would raise more questions. Though on the flip side, the wife didn't speak her feelings about keeping the babysitter either. There, for sure, was a lack of communication. If they had just spoken to each other, then this whole situation would have been avoided. That being said, I do not think OP is the a-hole at all, even if they did have $150 to $200 spare. And even with the lack of communication, it's ridiculous to expect a babysitter unless for a really good reason to come if one of the parents are at home. OP has also added an edit, as it does look like the commenters have gone a bit wild with the accusations. So here's the edit. Edit. Hey everyone, can we cool it with the purely speculative cheating angle? My wife goes to yoga class with 5 other moms from our neighborhood, so unless they are all stepping out on their husbands or all in cahoots together, she's not cheating. Our neighborhood isn't a reality TV show, and real life isn't like that. She's an introvert, and when she gets to her social limit, she doesn't want to go out. It's happened before, which is why I didn't push her to come out with me. Let's see what the comments have to say. Everyone here sucks. You both really need to work on your communication. While it makes sense to cancel the babysitter, it could have been one of the things that was helping your wife hold onto her sanity and getting through the day. And she should have let you know she still wanted the sitter. Maybe the night could have been salvaged with her taking the time of your party to relax and de-stress, and you both still could have gone for that date afterwards. All it would have taken was you saying, if you're not coming to the party, I'll call and cancel the babysitter. It would have given her a chance to respond. But she did not have blown up your phone. At 10, 8, and 5, the kids are old enough to grab snacks and watch a movie. The 5-year-old would need some help with things, but the siblings should be able to do most of that. I think your parent has had a crappy day and still gone home and taken care of the kids. Most parents have had the flu and felt like death and still taken care of the kids. But it does make parenting that much harder. And not all bad days and flus are the same. I know I have had bad days where I know if I come home, I'm going to yell at the kids because my temper is done. Or call to hubby and I don't come home until I've had a chance to calm down. It's only happened once. But the ability to calm myself without the stress of worrying about my attitude was what I needed. Not the a-hole. Why pay for a babysitter if she's home? They're old enough to entertain themselves. If mom says, guys, I'm too tired to be running around tonight dealing with messes. If I order pizza and put a movie on, you have to promise to be quiet and leave me alone. Basically, she's allowed to act like an adult and reason with her kids. $200 for a babysitter, and she has the guts to be at you when she canceled something you were looking forward to last minute. She is the a-hole. All right, folks, that wraps up our journey through these intriguing Am I the A-hole stories today. What a roller coaster of perspectives and moral dilemmas. Before we go, I'd love to hear your thoughts on these stories. Do you agree or disagree with the judgments? Let me know down in the comments. I'm genuinely curious about your take. If you enjoyed diving into the Am I the A-hole world with me, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more engaging content. And hey, if you've got your own Am I the A-hole story, or a suggestion for a future video, share it with me. I would love to hear from you guys. Now, let's keep this conversation going. Head over to the comments section and let's discuss these stories further. Thanks for spending your time here. I'll catch you in the next video where we'll explore even more juicy Reddit adventures. Until then, take care, stay awesome, and remember, it's okay to question, but it's also okay to be kind. This is Sit Down and Reddit. See you next time.